Newtypes, am I right? Out of everything in the mainline Universal Century, they are by far the most confusing out of any aspect. But without them, we wouldn't get a bunch of really cool things that came with them. And so today, we're going to talk about one of the weapons that Zeon tried to build to make use of these Newtypes, the Saikamu System Zaku, aka the Bishop. Now before we speak about the mobile suit itself, we need some context. What's a Newtype?
What the hell is even that?
In all honesty, it's probably one of the most complex questions to ever be asked about Gundam, but for the sake of this video, we'll go with the simplest explanation. Newtypes are humans born in space who have specialized brainwaves that they can use in a variety of ways. They can easily read the room, understand people without misunderstanding them, and if you put two Newtypes in a room together, they can communicate with each other without ever speaking a word. Zeon Zum Daikun, the founder of the Republic of Zeon, believed that Newtypes were the next step in human evolution, but after his death and the rebranding of the Republic into the Principality of Zeon, it only took a moment for Kycelia and Giranzabi to want to find a way to weaponize this idea. As such, the Flanagan Institute was founded to research these Newtypes and to produce brand new weapons that could be controlled by these specialized brainwaves. Why did Zeon want these remote weapons? Because of the Minovsky particle. Now, we've discussed the Minovsky particle already in a previous video, but for today we're talking about the Minovsky dispersal again. Simply put, when Minovsky particles are spread into a combat zone, remote-controlled weapons are rendered useless due to the particle jamming EM signals. However, Newtype brainwaves can't be jammed by these particles, and as such, Zeon wanted to weaponize it using something called the Saikamu system. Short for Psycho Communication System, this system used Minovsky particles to create a man-machine interface, allowing Newtypes to control weapon systems with nothing but their minds. One small issue is that the system was really big, which also meant that the power system for the Saikamu was also really big.
He is too damn big!
And as such, fitting it into a mobile suit is a bit of a challenge. However, after some time experimenting with a few prototype machines here and there, Zeon officially began the Bishop plan. This plan was meant as a way to try and bring back the old style of electronic warfare that was now obsolete, with the overall end goal being to create what Zeon was calling the Zeong. In the end, however, the plan resulted in 3 test models: the Brabro, a large-scale mobile armor, an unknown middle-sized fighter craft, and finally the topic of today's video, the mobile suit of the trio, the MS-06Z Saikamu System Zaku, or as it would later become nicknamed, the Bishop. Standing 17.7 meters tall, the Bishop weighed in at 60.4 metric tons empty. The main body of the mobile suit was rather chunky, mainly due to the large power generator in addition to the Saikamu system that the suit was installed with. The suit was primarily constructed out of the same frame as the MS-06F Zaku 2, but outside of that and the shape of its head, the two suits bear very little resemblance to one another. The suit was overall powered by a larger version of a Minovsky ultra-compact fusion reactor, and the torso-located cockpit only required one Newtype pilot to control the entire mobile suit. As for its armaments, the Bishop only came rocking a pair of large arms mounted with 5-barrel megaparticle cannons, which each barrel forming one of the large fingers on the hands. These arms could either be fired from their normal position on the mobile suit, attached at the elbow, or be launched and controlled via the Saikamu system with a wire connecting them back to the elbow joint. This allowed the Bishop to perform an all-range attack, and each of the hands had enough firepower to sink a battleship in a single volley. However, these arms also received a bit of backlash from the rank and file, as many within Zeon compared the large forearms to those of a mountain gorilla. The legs of the suit were also somewhat interesting, as they weren't really useful for anything outside of landing, and were essentially useless in space combat. As we would see later on, legs aren't exactly required when it comes to dominating the Federation. Overall, 3 Bishops were completed and used for testing purposes, deployed from Granada aboard the Lemuria. 2 of the test pilots for this unit were Pesh Montagna and Yahagi Frazenbach, both of whom being Newtypes from the Flanagan Institute. Later on, the second unit of the trio was converted into the MSN-01 High Mobility Saikamu System Zaku, which is not only a mouthful of a name, but also is the first mobile suit to use the newer MSN designation that Zeon began using for Newtype use mobile suits. The high mobility type itself would be used to help create the proper Zeon we see later on, but as for the Bishop itself, a 4th unit was produced out of the the spare parts that were unused by the other 3 models. This 4th unit was given to Anna Rose Rosenheim of the Marcosius Corps, where she would use the unit during the Battle of Solomon and eventually the Battle of Abawaku. During Abawaku, Anna Rose even attempted to engage the RX-7802, but froze when she realized she couldn't take on the White Devil, although this move would lead to the death of her wingman, Albert Bell, a death the grief-stricken Anna Rose wouldn't recover from for many years. And overall, that's the Bishop. Personally, I've never been the biggest fan of Newtype use mobile suits. I totally understand the appeal, don't get me wrong, especially with the remote use weapons and the crazy things Newtypes can do in the right conditions, but personally, hokey brainwaves and fancy remote weapons are no match for a good pilot. Anyways, that's all from me today. Like, comment, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. And until next time, this is Nerd Trooper, signing off.